My parents bought my brother a brand new Jeep for graduation, and all I got was a lottery ticket. Growing up in the quiet suburbs of Chicago felt like living in every teen movie ever made. Split level houses with American flags flapping on porches, the smell of burgers on the grill every weekend, and neighbors who smiled at you but gossiped the second you walked away. My family classic middle class dad worked in logistics. Mom juggled PDA meetings and extreme couponing, and then there was me and my twin brother Nick. Nick was that guy high school football star, prom king material, and somehow always tan, even in February. Girls tripped over themselves around him, and teachers gave him that "you'll go far" speech at least once a week. Me, I was a twin with the Target name tag stacking shelves to save for college. If Nick was a Super Bowl, I was the Tuesday night high school chess club. No hard feelings. Though, okay, maybe a little. We were close. In that weird twin telepathy way, like when you know your brother just stole the last slice of pizza without even checking. But while Nick basked in the spotlight, I just wanted out. College wasn't just school for me, it was an escape route. Senior year was a montage of Nick's endless parties, my late night essays, and our parents already K&E deep. In graduation planning, Mom buried herself in Pender US boards for the ultimate GRB party. Think fairy lights, themed cupcakes, and a playlist would way too much journey. Dad, he was locked in a battle with himself over whether renting a margarita machine would make him the cool dad or get him banned from the next way meeting. Nick had already secured a full-ride football scholarship to Michigan, which meant months of congratulations cards and random neighbors saying we always knew he'd make it big. Me, I was counting down the days until my state college escape. It wasn't the Ivy League, but it was my chance to finally be just Alex, not Nick's twin. Not the other one, just me. The days before graduation felt like a pressure cooker. Nick had practice, parties, and a constant stream of texts from girls planning post-grad getaways. Had double shifts at Target, and exactly one email from my future roommate asking if I was cool with bringing a mini fridge. Exciting times. One night as Mom fussed over seating charts and Dad tried to figure out how many hot dogs were too many, Nick and I found ourselves on the garage roof. It was our spot, a place where we could be just two brothers without all the noise. Nick was hyped about dorm life, tailgating, and football glory. I listened, pretending I wasn't, imagining a world where I wasn't his sidekick. The big day was coming fast, and everyone was buzzing about what surprises graduation would bring Nick. He probably expected something straight out of a sports movie. Me, I wasn't holding my breath, but looking back now, I should have known better. I knew Nick would get something huge, but I never thought my gift would flip our entire world upside down. Graduation day felt like stepping into one of those high school movies that always seemed too perfect to be real. The gym was decked out in blue and gold streamers, oversized balloons, spelling out class of 2024, and a photo booth where everyone lined up to snap selfies with oversized sunglasses and fake diplomas. The smell of cafeteria pizza from past lunches still haunted the place, but no one cared. Nick, of course, was in his element, flashing that effortless smile while classmates clapped him on the back like he just won the Super Bowl. The ceremony itself dragged on longer than a line at Starbucks on a Monday morning. Teaches that tried too hard to be funny. A choir performance that made me question if any of them actually rehearsed, and me sitting there thinking about my next Target shift. Nick's name got called with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for lottery winners, while mine was more like, oh, right, him too. But hey, at least I didn't trip. Walking across the stage, small wins. Afterward, the chaos was unreal. Mom sobbing like we were shipping off to Mars. Dads awkwardly filming every second on their phones, and relatives barely knew, pulling me into hugs that lasted way too long. Nick got mobbed by his fan club, while I mostly nodded along to small talk and dodge questions about my future like I was in the NFL myself. Back at home, our backyard looked like it had been ripped from a pine rest board. Fairy lights everywhere, a table stacked with mini sliders, chips, and hot dogs, and a cooler pack with enough Coca-Cola to fuel an all-nighter. Nick's crew rolled in like a tsunami, each louder than the next. Dressed in polos and class of 2024 t-shirts that looked suspiciously new. I spotted Mr. Thompson from next door, pretending to mingle while sneaking another plate of sliders. Someone, probably Nick, decided that renting a limo was a move. Next thing I knew, we were crammed inside, blasting throwback hits from early 2000s playlists someone found on Spotify, making pit stops at Taco Bell and Starbucks, because apparently no grad night is complete without caffeine and nachos. Nick soaked it all in the laughs, the selfies, the nonstop attention. Me, I sat back sipping my Coke, cracking jokes and wondering if anyone actually noticed I was there. We did the classic Starbucks photo op, holding our drinks like they were Oscars. And for a split second, it felt like maybe this could be my moment too. Back home, as the party hit its peak and the fairy lights flickered in the humid night air, Mom and Dad gathered everyone. Inside, for the moment, everyone was waiting for the gifts. Nick looked ready to burst, already picturing whatever grand surprise our parents had cooked up. For him, I just hoped my gift wasn't socks. I knew Nick's gift would be something unforgettable, but what haunted me wasn't what he'd get, it was what I wouldn't. The living room buzzed with anticipation. Nick was practically vibrating, already imagining himself behind the wheel of whatever dream gift. Our parents had lined up his friends, sprawled across our worn leather couch. In half-empty beanbags whispered guesses between sips of Mountain Dew and bites of pizza. A sports car? A motorcycle? Maybe a boat. Nick deserved something. Flashy, right? Mom, holding back tears like we just won the lottery, handed him a key fob. The room erupted louder than a bear's. Touchdown. Nick bolted outside everyone, trailing behind him like groupies. Chasing a rock star parked in the driveway, gleaming under the streetlight, was a brand new Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Top-down doors, off the kind of car made for blasting country music and making memories at Lake Michigan. Nick's grin was wider than the Chicago skyline. He climbed in, revving the engine like he was already halfway to the beach. His phone connected to Bluetooth faster than my Wi-Fi ever did, and suddenly, Morgan Wallen was singing about heartbreak and highways. Classic Nick. I stayed back, letting it all sink in. This wasn't a surprise. Nick was a golden boy. The hometown hero, of course he'd get a Jeep. Dad clapped me on the shoulder like he was prepping me for bad news. Mom handed me a small white envelope. No keys, no oversized bow, just paper. The room went quiet. Awkward quiet. I opened it, trying to convince myself it would be something cool, maybe a check for college, maybe tickets to a Cubs game inside a $25 Best Buy gift card and a lottery ticket queue. The awkward chuckles. Sam, my best friend since third grade and the king of bad timing, nudged me and whispered, hey, at least now you can finally buy the Xbox controller you've been complaining about. I forced a laugh. Because, well, what else do you do when life hands you a slap in the face, disguised as a gift? Nick's friends barely noticed. They were too busy piling into the Jeep, already arguing about who got shotgun. Mom hugged me tight, whispering something about bigger things ahead, but her voice got drowned out by the Jeep's engine and Nick yelling that they were headed to Dairy Queen. Dad gave me that nod, you know, the one, the chin up, kid nod. I stuffed the envelope into my pocket and slipped out the back door. The porch was my safe place, the distant hum of lawnmowers, the faint smell of burgers from a neighbor's barbecue, and me, scratching a losing lottery ticket with a quarter I found in my jeans figures, stared at the gift card like it held answers. Nick got freedom, adventure, and endless possibilities. I got plastic, worth less than my Target paycheck. But the worst part, it felt like everyone expected this, like I was the guy who didn't need the big stuff. Sam found me outside holding 2 Cokes he probably snagged from our cooler. He sat next to me, popping his can open with that signature smirk. Tough break, man, but hey, no one's going to ask you for rides now. I laugh, a real one this time. We sat there, I his Coke while Nick's Jeep disappeared into the night. I smiled for the rest of the party, played along, even congratulated Nick like a good brother should, but something inside me cracked that night, and I didn't know it yet, but that tiny fracture, it was about to change everything. I got home that night feeling like I'd just been benched in the championship game. Nick was out, cruising in his new Jeep, probably blasting country music and planning weekend trips to Lake Michigan with his friends. Me, I was standing in front of the freezer, pulling out a frozen DJ pizza and wondering how my life had come to this. The microwave hummed as I leaned against the counter, scrolling aimlessly. Through Instagram, my feed was filled with graduation pics, caps toss in the air, cheesy group selfies, and of course, Nick's Jeep already making an appearance. His caption, new wheels, new adventures. Lake Michigan. We coming now, our Jeep life. Blessed, I sigh, liking the post out of habit, even though it made my chest tighten. The timer beeped, snapping me out of my doom scroll. I grabbed my pizza and sailed on to our old plaid couch, balancing the plate on my lap. The living room smelled like pepperoni and disappointment. I flipped through Netflix until I landed on The Office. It was my go. Something about Michael Scott's awkwardness made my own life feel less tragic. Jim's pranks on Dwight, peak comedy. And let's be honest, if Pam could survive a relationship with Roy, maybe I could survive being Nick's twin. As I took a bite, memories crept in like uninvited guests. There was that Christmas morning when Nick unwrapped a brand new PlayStation 5 and I got a $50 Amazon gift card. Nick immediately fired up Madden while I scrolled to Amazon, realizing 50 wouldn't even cover a new controller. Or the summer after freshman year when our parents whizzed Nick off to Disney World to celebrate his amazing football season. Well, I got left behind with Grandma Doors and her endless collection of ceramic cats, her ideal fun, teaching me how to knit and lecture me about my posture issues. Even the small things stung. Nick got the last slice of pizza. More times than I could count, he never had to mow the lawn because football practice was apparently a valid excuse. And let's not forget every time someone said, "Oh, you're Nick's brother," like that, was my entire identity I reached for. Another slice, realizing I had two left. Great, even my pizza was reminding me that I always ended up with less. My phone buzzed. It was Sam. The guy had the timing of a sitcom punchline dude did. "You checked that lottery ticket yet?" I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, I'm sure I won millions while microwaving a DJ. Come on." "Man," he texted back. "Do it for the meme?" I sighed, pulling the crumpled ticket for my jeans. It felt like a cruel joke, but whatever, fine. Let's get this over with. I thought little did I know that moment would flip my world upside down. I stared at the crumpled lottery ticket in my hand, half expecting it to burst into flames or disappear like some cruel prank. My fingers trembled as I opened the lottery app on my phone. The screen loaded slower than dial-up internet, and my heart pounded like I'd just run a marathon. "Scan your ticket," the app prompted. I held my breath and hovered my phone over the barcode. Processing. Then there it was, $15,000. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, blinked again. Surely I was hallucinating from too much Dijon and Mountain Dew, but the numbers didn't change. $5 million. I made a sound that probably scared the neighbor's dog. A mix between a gasp, a laugh, and that noise you make when you stub your toe at 2 a.m. Sam's text popped up again. "Did you check it yet?" Almost threw my phone across the room. Million wasn't buy a new Xbox money, it was quit your job and move to a beach. House money? My brain went into overdrive. What do you even do when you win the lottery? Google. Obviously what to do if you win the lottery. First rule, don't tell anyone. Yeah, no kidding. Nick would probably sell my secret for gas money. Mom would turn into Oprah. You get a new kitchen, you get a new car, and Dad, well, let's just say I wasn't ready for a 3-hour lecture on tax brackets. I PCE my room like I was trying to wear out the carpet. A million thoughts raced through my head. Buy a car, a house, every season of The Office on Blu-ray. I sat on my bed, scrolling through endless articles. Get a lawyer stay. Anonymous, don't spend too quickly. Most winners go broke within years. Great. Nothing like the fear of financial ruin to kill the mood outside. I heard Najib rumble into the driveway. His laughter filtered through my window as he bragged about the girl from Dairy Queen who gave him her number. Classic. Nick. I peeked out the window. There he was, leaning against his shiny new Jeep, tossing fries into his mouth like he didn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, I had a $5 million secret burning a hole in my sock drawer. I thought about telling Sam, but then I remembered how he accidentally let it slip when I had a crush on our math tutor sophomore year. No way. I needed to plan a solid one, but first I needed to hide the ticket better than some sock drawer cliche. I stuffed it into an old paperback no one would ever touch. Asterisk advanced algebra, 2-star pretty. Sure, even burglar would leave that one. Behind my phone buzzed. Again, Sam. "Yo, you good?" I grinned. "Yeah." I texted, "Sit back. I'm good," but inside I was already planning my next move. I knew without a doubt that they'd all want a piece of this pie, but I wasn't sharing. The morning after my $5 million discovery, I woke up with a mix of excitement and paranoia. What if I lost the ticket? What if someone found out? What if this was all a dream and I'd wake up still, working late shifts at Target, arguing with customers about expired coupons? I needed a plan, and the first step was getting this money somewhere safe. I told my parents I had a morning shift and drove straight to the bank instead, sitting in the parking lot in my 2008 Honda Civic that rattled every time I hit the brakes. I Googled how to open a bank account for lottery winnings without your family finding out. No helpful Reddit threads, just a lot of tell your mom immediately advice, which wasn't happening inside. I felt like I had a neon sign above my head flashing millionaire every time the teller glanced at me. I panicked. But an hour later, I walked out with a new account, temporary card, and a meeting with Brian. My new financial advisor. Brian looked exactly how you'd picture a financial advisor: polo shirt, khakis, and the kind of smile that said, "Trust me, I won't lose all your money, probably." He didn't blink. When I told him about my win, just launched into a TED talk about diversified portfolios. I nodded like I understood, wondering if anyone ever just bought a mansion and called it a day. Eventually, I invested in Tesla and Amazon stocks because, well, Elon Musk, and 2-day shipping. Next up, Operation New Alex. I hit them all like a man on a mission. Skip Walmart, Bean to Nike, and spent more in an hour than I had in the past 2 years combined. Hoodies, Air Jordan, Raby bands, the essentials. For the first time, I wasn't counting pennies at the clearance rack when I strutted into the house. Nick noticed instantly. "New kicks?" he asked, tossing a football in the air. "Uber," I said. Like that explained everything apparently in Nick's world. Driving strangers around could buy you $200 sneakers. A week later, I traded my Civic for a Tesla model. The first time I pulled up, Nick nearly spit out his Mountain Dew. "No way," he laughed. "This is like an Uber rental, right?" Yep, I shrugged, testing it out now. One questioned it, my parents started, hinting about bills, and Nick kept teasing me about being the bougie Uber driver. Meanwhile, I was building a life no one knew about. For the first time, I felt free. Nick had his Jeep and his fan club. I had my secret fortune and a fresh start, but secrets like mine, they never stay hidden for long. The Tesla's autopilot hums softly as I cruise back, down on 90 after the Post Malone concert, my ears still ringing from the bass, and Sam's off-key singing The Night had been perfect. Front row seats, overpriced merch, and enough adrenaline to fuel me for a week. I was on top of the world, imagining late-night Taco Bell runs in my Tesla, and never having to explain why I couldn't go on spring break trips. But my bus started to wear off as I pulled into our driveway and noticed all the lights still on. It was almost midnight. Weird. I walked in half expecting everyone to be asleep. Maybe Nick passed out with his Xbox controller in hand instead. Mom, Dad, and Nick were all waiting in the living room like an intervention scene from a bad TV drama. Nick sat there holding my black jacket, the one I'd left behind by accident. Nice jacket, he said too. Casually guess what I found in the pocket. My stomach dropped faster than my GPA during finals week. You went through my stuff. I shot back, trying to sound outraged instead of terrified. Nick shrugged, smirking like he just scored a game-winning touchdown. I was cold, didn't think you'd mind, but hey, I didn't have to dig far. This little J was right there. He waved the financial report from Tesla, the one showing my $100,000 investment. Mom's eyes widened, her voice almost a whisper. Alex, where did you get this kind of money? Dad leaned forward, his classic serious dad face on. Sit down now. No. Escape. My heart pounded. I could say I found it on the sidewalk, but even that wouldn't fly. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I won the lottery. I admitted, the words tasting like defeat. $150K. Mom blinked rapidly like she was processing a system. Update 11. 1,500, and you didn't tell us why. Dad, already in calculator mode, rubbed his chin. Tuition, car insurance, credit card debt. This could help with a lot of family expenses. Nick leaned back with that grin that made me want to throw a pillow at his face. Guess you can finally ditch the Tesla rental and get a real car, like, I don't know, a Toyota. I forced a laugh, but inside I knew this was just the beginning of a storm. I wasn't ready for the living room. Felt like a courtroom, and I was definitely the defendant. Mom paced. Dad rubbed his temples like he was calculating every penny they'd ever spent, and Nick just scrolled through his phone like this was background noise. Typical. I can't believe you hid this from us, Mom, said her voice, a mix of disappointment and disbelief. We've always supported you. Alex, always. I clenched my jaw. Supported me? You mean like how you spent all your savings on Nick's Jeep while I got a $25 gift card? Nick chuckled under his breath. Well, you did buy those nice Air Jordan with it, right? That was it. I snapped you. Know what? No, I'm not giving you any money, I said firmly. Not for the mortgage, not for car payments, and definitely not for Nick's next weekend trip to Lake Michigan. Mom gasped. Like I just said, he was moving to Mars. We're your family. Families help each other. Funny, I shot back. I don't remember much help when I was working double shifts at Target too. For college, Dad tried to keep the peace. Son, we thought Nick's Jeep was an investment in his future. He needed it. For her, for what, Instagram posts? Cruising past Starbucks, I interrupted. Nick finally looked up. Chill, dude, you're acting like I fork him to buy my voice? Dripped with sarcasm, right? Because saying I need a Jeep isn't forcing at all. Mom started with the guilt trips. We did our best at Alex. Maybe you could just help a little. We're behind on some bills. The water heater's busted and your dad's car needs new brakes. I grabbed my jacket. I'm done, Mom, done. She echoed. Panic. Yeah. I nodded, done being the backup plan, done being the afterthought. I spent the night shoving clothes into a duffel bag, tossing in my laptop chargers, and a stack of leftover pizza slices wrapped in foil. Nick didn't even bother to say goodbye. He was too busy FaceTiming his friends about some party. The next morning, I stopped by Starbucks, grabbed a Vinny caramel macchiato because, well, I could finally afford one without checking my bank balance first. Then I signed a lease for a tiny apartment downtown with a view of the Chicago River. The place was small, like your bed is also your couch small, but it had exposed brick walls, a fridge. That didn't sound like a die-cat, no. One asking me to cover the Wi-Fi bill. I sat on the balcony with my coffee, watching boats glide along the river, and realized something for the first time in my life. I was free. A year passed, and life had a funny way of balancing the scales. Nick's shiny Jeep Wrangler total, after he tried to impress some girl by drifting in a Walmart parking lot, yeah, because nothing screams romance like almost hitting a cart return station, my parents drowning in credit card debt, From trying to keep up with Nick's endless expenses, spring break trips to Miami, the latest iPhone he just had to have, and those emergency AirPods he somehow lost 3 times. Meanwhile, I thrived. My Tesla no longer raised eyebrows because people assumed I was just another tech guy making decent money. My investments paid off big time, and I poured my money into a promising tech startup that exploded faster than a bag of popcorn in the microwave. Suddenly, I wasn't just a quiet twin working shifts at Target. I was a guy who booked last-minute flights to La for weekend getaways and posted sunrise pics from the Grand Canyon. Disney World, check that off my bucket list twice. I even got a photo with Mickey Mouse while holding a cho, because why not? Life felt like a montage from one of those inspirational TikToks with lo-fi music in the background. Then came the inevitable call. Alex, we need help. Mom's voice trembled through the phone. We're behind on everything, the house, the cars, even groceries. Nick chimed in, sounding less cocky than usual. Look, man, I screwed up, but we're family, right? I smiled bitterly, swirling my overpriced Starbucks iced coffee. Maybe you should have invested in me instead of a Jeep. I hung up half, expecting them to call back. They didn't. But fate wasn't done with me yet. One day, my phone rang. It was Grandpa. Hey, kiddo. Just checking in. I bet that lottery ticket changed everything, huh? My breath caught. Wait, you knew? Of course, he chuckled. I bought that ticket, gave it to your folks for your graduation always. Knew you were meant for something big. Tears welled up. Shame. Grandpa was the only one who saw me as more than a backup player.